are lumped and destroy themselves, are lumped together with people who build and create under the same concept. Those people share nothing in common except the fact that they chose their own actions. In other words, that they didn't take orders from mainstream culture or Big Brother. That's what they have in common. They didn't take orders from mainstream culture or Big Brother. They didn't conform. Continuing, you noted that if we defend harmless selfishness but use some other locution like rational self-interest or selfism, people will notice you're being sneaky. In this debate, you're trying to smuggle in an apologia for selfishness. But since you know that I won't accept that, you're trying to covertly sell this selfishness to me while relabeling and repackaging it as something else. That appears to be rather craven and devious. Fortunately, your ploy has failed since I see through this disguise. That's right. If we try to change the word, they're going to see through it. It's just two-faced and compromising us. Were I to try to sell selfishness without using the word, I'd be found out, and I'd lose credibility. If I defend selfishness and used that word, people would take offense, but at least they could respect me for giving my honest opinion. If I try to smuggle in selfishness while calling it something else, people won't even be able to respect me as straightforward. I can cite concrete examples of this happening, where people lose respect because they won't use the word selfish. They try to use other words. The famous socialist Paulina Borsuk, B-O-R-S-O-O-K, she's from T.J. Rogers' Uncommon Selfishness. I've got that little teeny blip of a debate about a minute long from Uncommon Knowledge. That's Paulina Borsuk. Okay? She has a book titled Cyber Selfish. So Paulina Borsuk, Barry Schwartz, David Sirota, and Naomi Klein have written popular books about how free marketers are apologists for selfishness, and about how these free marketers conspicuously refrain from using the word. So they're pointing it out. Look, they know that they're advocating selfishness, and they know how dirty it is because they won't even use the word because they don't want to associate themselves with the truth. They can't pull this over our eyes. They can't hide from us that they're putting selfishness up on the world. That's what's being pointed out. The socialists then use this to accuse free marketers of being inherently devious. In the socialist estimate, these free marketers are trying to score a victory for selfishness when they're not even willing to say selfishness. So it must mean that the free marketers' case is so weak that free marketers can only win through such deceitful mind games. That is a point that Naomi Klein rather gleefully stresses in her New York Times bestseller, The Shock Doctrine, The Rise of Disaster Capitalism. And these are people who just take selfishness as bad. They know it's bad. It's a synonym for evil. Well, the socialists are right about these free marketers, self-consciously trying to divert attention away from the selfish elephant in the room. In other words, they're right. These people are conspicuously leaving their hands off the word selfish. But they're wrong that the free marketers do this because selfishness is indefensible. It's really cowardice on free marketers' part. So Stuart here says this is defensible ground. Cowardice is what makes us pull back and say we're not going to use that word. There's too much negativity with that word. And then the people who conspicuously don't use that word look more devious and deceitful than anybody else in the whole debate. So it's cowardice on the free marketer's part that makes us pull back from that word, says Stuart. I agree. The mainstreamers' use of the word selfishness embodies the anti-concept insinuating that serving one's self-interest must inexorably be amoral at best and immoral at worst, and that a good self-interest is impossible. The only way to fight this anti-concept is to take power away from and undermine the necessarily negative emotional and psychological connotations collectivists want selfishness to retain. That entails using the word selfishness the way Ayn Rand did. Only then can this anti-concept be stripped of its power to intimidate people and stifle rational discourse. Sincerely, Stuart. So thank you very much, Stuart, for that contribution. And I have my eye on one particular objectivist online, 99s, who does not think that selfishness is defensible or something. I'm not sure. But we've got a lot more ammunition on the table. I think a little bit extra ground covered. The case looks bulletproof to me. Watertight. I can't see how she would continue to say selfishness is a word that we shouldn't redefine now. But perhaps she will cede her territory and allow us to hold this territory of selfishness.